Alright, good afternoon everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Data Science Clinic. Now today we're going to talk about Python. Alright, how to learn Python and prepare yourself for data science. If you are here, if you can hear me loud and clear, you can see my screen, just let me know and say hi in the comment section. Okay, while I'm preparing, and let's wait for another couple of minutes for everyone to arrive. Okay, so let me check if everything is okay. All right, thank you. Okay, it's 3 o'clock now, so let's get started. And once again, welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, in this episode of Data Science Clinic, this is your host, Dr. Lau. We are going to talk about how to learn Python for data science. Now, first of all, I think a couple of things that we would like to highlight is that let me pull out the browser. Yeah, let me pull out the browser. So what we are going to do here is, as usual, this is a clinic session, so it's not really not a formal training session, but I'm sure that you will get a lot more depth from a session like this, because I will touch on different things, like for example a little bit of my experience when we learn Python, when we use Python for data science, and then some of the pain points, some of the issues that our students have met during their journey of data science, and also while they are learning Python, and then how did they overcome the problems. Okay, so now first of all, if you want to follow whatever I'm doing here, right, you can just go to Google Colab. So the URL is colab.research.google.com, and this is a cloud-based notebook, so you don't really have to install anything. Yeah, you can just go there and then start writing code in Python. Okay, so you can go to Google Colab. Right, and click on new notebook, and this is what you get. So by default it's Python already, so this one can be Python tutorial, Python for data science. Okay, so a lot of people, first of all, let's talk a bit about the background of Python, and then why do we need to learn Python. Now, Python is the #1 most popular programming language until now. So if we look at PYPL, right, most popular Yeah, if we look at most popular programming languages, PYPL, popularity of programming language, rank #1 is still Python, and Java #2, JavaScript #3, C# #4, and then R goes all the way to 7, which is not too bad, right? It's still within top 10. So the reason why Python is so popular is because it's user friendly, beginners friendly, and a lot of people actually use it for different things. So for example, if you're a web developer, there are web development frameworks like Flask and Django for you to use, or you can use the default features like just out of the box Python to do a lot of automation scriptings that help you to manage servers, to help you to do unit tests, for example. And also it comes with a lot of libraries, a lot of libraries for data science especially. So you can do a very small thing like your own toy project, do some IoT scriptings for Raspberry Pi, and all the way to launching rockets, spaceships, and also the simulation of black hole, simulation of the black hole image. So all of these they use a lot of Python, and that's why in July 2020 Python is actually the #1 most popular programming language with 31%, and it's going up. It's an going up trend. The second place is kind of interesting too, Java, right? I personally believe that there are still a lot of Java programmers out there, and they are good ones because they have came a long way since last time. So they are good in enterprise software, they are good in all those heavy lifting legacy enterprise applications, and also a lot of people, they are good in Java because they use it to write Android applications anyway. Okay, so that's a little bit of the background of Python. Now, let's touch on a little bit about why people are fearful when they learn programming language also. Okay, a lot of time when people learn programming language, right, they sort of, when they look at programming language, they're like, oh, this is so hard, I'm not from computer science background, I don't understand the syntax. Now this is pretty normal, and the reason behind is because programming language, okay, computers programming language is meant for computers to see, meant for computer to read, meant for computer to understand. It's never designed for human. Okay, this is something that you need to remember. Programming language is never designed for human to understand. And later on, like it started off with 0 and 1 with signals, okay, and then later on we have a low level programming language, and then all the way develop into high level programming language today. Then only we start to make it a little bit more user friendly. But as if you have touched on any programming before, right, you will know that the error messages, the syntax, the structures is not meant for human to understand. It was never designed according to our intuition, okay, put it this way. And that's why a lot of people, when they say it, they find it like a bit hard to get it around, because that is the language for us to talk to machines, okay. So it's like when you go to a new country, let's say you go to Thailand, right, you go for travel, and you try to communicate with people in Thailand, and then using Malay language, Bahasa, or English or Chinese that they don't understand, and then you're like, oh, it's so hard to understand Thai language, right? It's the same analogy. It's because when you need to communicate with somebody, you need to use a language that they understand. So same thing, when we want to learn how to program, how to communicate with computers and ask computers to execute some instructions for us, to do work for us. So that's why we need to learn programming language. Okay, so nothing to be worried, nothing to be fearful about. And what I'm going to teach you here is the step-by-steps flow that you need to learn, and how much you need to learn, just enough to kickstart Python, just to use Python to kickstart data science. Okay, now whenever you learn a programming language, right, the first thing that you need to learn, any textbook or what, they will teach you something called data types, they teach you something called variables, and then you will learn a lot of fancy concepts like string, numbers, boolean, or okay. Now you need to understand that variables, okay, now variables, the purpose of learning variables is actually for us to store data or store value. So for example, I can say age equals to 25, okay, and name equals to, and this is a type of string, okay, this is a type of string, this is a type of integers or numbers, and then you can do something like temperature, okay, 36.5. So this is a very standard way of recording information, right? By now you probably know that if you are doing some sort of, let's say, contact tracing, all right, so Okay, this is an example. So if you're using Colab, right, all you have to do is just to click on the execute button. Okay, this is Python code, yeah, and you will connect to a virtual machines instance, initialize. Once it's connected, your code will run pretty quickly. Okay, so whenever you run variables definition like this, right, you are basically just storing value inside placeholder. So you think about it like name is a placeholder. So and you can query the value that you store. So you want to know what is the name, you just say print name, that you give you my name. Okay, you want to know the temperature, and then you know the temperature. Okay, very simple, very easy, very straightforward. Now what about if you want to know if you want to store something that is beyond those things that you have seen normally, right? And that's when we use something that is called a boolean. For example, check in equals to true. Okay, so this means that I've already checked in. And you can see, right, we sort of like have a very basic kind of placeholders to store our information about somebody who have just entered our store, okay, who have just entered our premises. And this is part one, right? This is first step. So next thing, what we are going to do is we are going to store multiple values, right? We are going to store multiple values, and if we want to store inside a collection, this is where we use something called list. Okay, so you might not just have one people that come in, right? You might have a group of people that come in. So you can say names equals to admin. Okay, so these are 3 people that come into the shop at the same time, and then their temperature is 36.5, 36.2, and also 36.3. Okay, 3 of them, and yeah. So you can put their mobile numbers also if you want to, but I'm just going to skip that. So this is what we call a list. A list is also sometimes it's called an array in other programming language, but in Python this is called list. So now you know how to store value in a single placeholder or a single value in a placeholder, and now you know how to store multiple values inside a collection. Okay, list is only for collection. Now what about you see some repetition here? Okay, you see some repetition here, and then you want to make sure that you are storing them as an object, right? You don't want to type this every time. How about we want to store them as a single object, and each object records information that's only related to that people. Okay, sure, we can do that, and we can do that by using something called a dictionary. Okay, so a dictionary works this way. So we can say visitor1, okay, name, temperature 36.5, visitor 2, 36.2. Okay, and then of course visitor 3, sorry. Alright, same thing, click here and then click on shift enter to run. Unhashable type list. Sorry. Okay, so now you have stored the information instead of using a list, instead of using an array or a collection, or storing them in a single placeholder. Now we store it in an object in the form of dictionary. And what's the benefit of doing that? So you can print the entire object without going through to print the name, temperature, everything. You just need to do this, print visitor1, and it will give you all the information that's related to the person, to the object. You can also do visitor1 bracket name, then it will show you the name of the person only. And how do we combine a dictionary and a list together? So I can create another list called visitors, and that is equals to visitor 1, visitor 2, visitor 3. Okay, and then we will print visitors. All right, so this is it. Now, if there's any questions, feel free to type them down in the comment section. Right? I'm here to answer your question. So once again, the purpose of this is not just to run a workshop. Okay, we do have our dedicated workshop section, but this is to usually to answer some of the questions that we receive. So it's a clinic. Yeah. If you have any questions, you have any symptoms, I'm more than happy to help you to diagnose. Okay, so now that you have already run, you know how to store information in different structure, different format already. What about we want to process the information? All right. So if we want to process a list, we can use. We need to use something called loops. Yeah, we can use something called loops. So for example, for visitor in visitors, print visitor. So loops is something that a lot of people they can't really get their head around, because usually we do things in real life. We don't do it in the format of looping. Yeah, we don't do so much of looping. Okay. And this is how it works. Yeah, so we loop through every single of them, and then we can see their details, every single one of them. Or if we just want to print their name, right, we can also say for visitor in visitors, and then we can say print visitors name. It's the same technique that we are using here. Okay, so you only get their names. Okay. And what else? All right, so now that you have learned how to store information, the next thing that you need to do is just some basic operators. So operators is for us to do some sort of operations on the variables on the data that we have. So the basic operator will be plus, minus, multiplication, and division. So you can just say 21 plus 52. If we give a result, print 52 minus 5, then 47. That's okay. So 22 times 2 times and division, multiplication and division is the one that is different because they use asterisk and they use a slash, right? Yeah. Or you can also use mode. For example, you want to know the remainder. Yeah, percentage mark is actually means for remainder. Yeah, so we know that 100 divided by 2, the remainder is 0. So if we do 100 divided by 3, should be 33, remainder is 1. Okay, so this is the operator. So what we are going to do next is we're going to combine operator, for loop, and also the data that we store. So for example, we are doing some we're going to square some numbers. So I can say a equals to 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, so what you want is you want to get the you want to double the entire list, right? So you want to make sure that everything says times 2. So you can say for number in a, print number times 2. So this is a pretty, I would say, pretty straightforward way, pretty direct way that people have been using Python or have been using the same method in different programming language. So if you want to have something that is more advanced, right? In Python, we have this thing called list comprehension. List comprehension allow us to do something like this. So check this out. You can say a 2x, okay? X2, okay, double. Let's just call it double. Yeah, double equals to for number in a. Okay, just a simple loop. But what? Oh, sorry. A for number, a number for number in a. So what this list tells us is that we are going to get a value called number, but this number, where does this number comes from? This number comes from for number in a. So I actually compress these two element, right? Okay, these 3 lines into a single line. So if I print double right now, you won't see any difference, yeah, because I did not put the operation. You will still see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But what is going to be magical is that this is the part that you can do anything that you want. So you can put in some operations. So for example, numbers times 2 for number in A, print double. So you get the entire list. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you get a new list with all the elements inside times 2. Same thing you can do square. Okay, number times number for number in A. So this will give you a square. 2, 16. We can just print here. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. So you square every number in the list itself. Okay. If I don't know how to pronounce your name here, let's just call Annie. I'm in the path of data analysis. A major problem is that you forget things that you practice, and it looks like you have no practice at all. Not a problem, because this is what I usually say, right? When you learn programming, when you learn data science, these sort of things, right, is very applied. It's very applied science kind of stuff. So you will tend to forget if you don't practice. It's just like a knife, right? If you don't sharpen it, then yeah, you will definitely become blunt over time. Okay. Yep. Not a problem. Good to see you here. So, and also another thing that's good to use notebook, Jupyter notebook like this, is that it will make sure that everything that you have done, right, you have written, is well documented. Yeah. Now the good part about Jupyter notebook is that not only you can put code, but you can also put text. So if you want to make any sort of comments, right, you can use this markdown panel. Say, hey, this is my description. And today, 31st July. Oh, by the way, happy holiday, everybody, and thank you for being here despite it's a holiday. Today, 31st July 2020, I have learned how to do list comprehension. Okay, same thing. This is just another cell. So after you have run it, just shift enter, then you can see the text that you have typed appears here. Okay, so this is just to give you a quick warm-up about what is Python, right? And up to this stage, you can do a lot of things already. For example, we can create a dictionary. Remember how dictionary works, right? We can create a dictionary, say that conversion rate, okay, currency conversion. I will say, let's just see, one USD to MRR. Okay, 4.24. So we can say USD 4.24, and then AUD should be 3, SGD also 3, AUD 3.06, and then SGD 3.09. So you want to know, let's say, if your currency, right, your money equals to 100, yeah, equals to 100. So you can say 100 times conversion. Just call it rates. Yeah, 100 times rates brackets SGD. So, meaning that 100 Singapore dollar will give you 309 Malaysian ringgit. So this is a way of using dictionary. Okay, so I've covered the basic things about Python. Yeah, you do some sort of operations. You do how to keep the amount values inside of variables, and then you know how to keep collections of data inside a list, and also how to store them in projects. How to store them in object using dictionary, and then how to retrieve them. So this one will cover, I will say, about 50-60% of the normal use cases of the codes that you are going to write. What I'm going to show you next is the packages needed for data science. Okay, so we jump straight into packages needed for data science. Now, when you are learning data science, right, there are a couple of packages that you need to know. First thing first, you need to know this thing called Pandas. All right, Pandas. Pandas actually stands for Python for data analysis. So if you can go through the documentation to look at getting started, to look at what sort of data that they handle, how do you read and write data. The main thing, the main cool thing about Pandas is that Panda is trying to read every single information into Python so that it behaves like a table. Okay, so let me show you some example. Sure, Simon. Okay, so first thing first, what you can do is you need to import pandas as PD, because this is external, or we will just call it third-party framework libraries or packages. So we have to always import them before we can do something with it. Yeah, so you can read a data set CSV file into pandas as a DF. DF stands for data frame. Okay. So once you have read the data, then you can just let's say randomly pick 20 rows to take a look. Yeah, randomly pick 20 rows to take a look, and then you can see the results here. Data frame is a very powerful package in Python. So what we can do is also we can do info and ask pandas to help us to gather the information about this particular data frame. Okay, so it will tell you that this data frame has these XYZ columns, and then what is the data type. And then after that, the next thing that you need to do is you can also use describe function to get some descriptive analytics or statistical analysis run on your data set. Yeah, so this is what you're going to see. So it tells you that what is the mean, what is the standard deviation, what is the minimum, what is the maximums, and the Q1, Q2, Q3 different percentile. All right, different percentile. And what we can do next is also we can use it for different things. So for example, if you want to know the correlations between different columns, then you can use df.cor. That it will give you a correlation of different columns. Yeah? Correlations of different columns. Okay, so this shall be a good start. Now the second package that you need to know is what we call Seaborn. Okay, Seaborn is a statistical data visualization package that we use in Python a lot. So what we can do is again, because Seaborn is an external package to Python, so we need to do something like that. Give me a sec. Okay. Then let's try this. Okay, so let's say we want to draw the heat map of our correlation, right? We can do this. We can say sns.heatmap df.core. Remember the correlation that we have run just now? Yeah, and then it will give you a correlation heat map like this. Okay, pretty handy, right? And if you want to do a cow plot, So you can also do count plot, say ax equals to sns.countplot df row, and then you give you a column chart. Yeah, I'm thinking between bar chart and column chart. A bar chart is a horizontal one, column chart is a vertical one. Okay. There are also a lot of different types of chart that you can visualize. So I'm just going to give you the URL. Okay, so for Pandas, you can just go straight and download it here. Yeah, if you're using Google Colab, you don't have to do anything. It's already included in Colab, and also Seaborn. Yeah, Seaborn. All right, so I think this should be enough to get you started for using Python for data science. I'll be here for another couple of minutes. Any questions? I'm going to share this notebook as well. Okay. Now, a lot of people, when they try to pick up programming, right? I think one way that people usually fail to learn programming effectively is because they try to learn the basics, fundamentals, without trying to understand how to apply it. So maybe this is something that, yeah, some advice that some quick advice and quick tips that I can give you is that you shouldn't be worrying too much about the actual language itself, the actual syntax itself. I know it's a bit counterintuitive, right? Because when you learn a language, let's say for example you learn English, people do expect you to learn the grammar first. But data science or Python, right, is a programming language that's more of an applied science. So I would rather you focus more on the application, learn how to use it first, get the code runs on your screen first. Okay. Now, if you have any question that your code doesn't run, don't be panic. Yeah, sometimes don't be panic. Usually is because you are missing some of the alphabets. You know, you have a typo here and there, because if you look at it, right, or you forgot to close the brackets, for example, the code snippets that we use are very short and very straightforward, so you shouldn't have any problem executing them. Yeah. All right, thank you very much. If there's no further questions, that's it for today's Data Science Clinic edition. So if you have any issues, feel free to let us know in the comment section. And also for those of you who are interested in a more proper Python training, right? We do have an upcoming workshop, Python 360. You can check it out, which is here. Okay, Python 360 workshop. And so this one will focus a lot on the different aspects of Python. It's a very systematic structured training, so you learn the foundations, you learn the advanced techniques, function, class, OOP, and you learn how to build web applications, and also how to build application that is for automation as well. So we do cover different use case aspects, and this will be very handy and very useful for those of you, not only you are working in data science, but as long as you are working in programming, so you're working in automations, and you want to enter the tech world, and I think will be very useful for you. Okay, all right, thank you very much, and